Hello and Yalindit everyone. Welcome. My name is Shalina. Thank you so much for joining us today. I am the National Council member for the Ismaili Muslim Women's Activities Portfolio in the UK. For those of you that don't know, Shia Imami Ismaili Muslims, generally known as Ismailis, belong to the Shia branch of Islam. Ismailis are an ethnically and culturally diverse community living in over 25 countries around the world. We are united in our allegiance to His Highness the Aga Khan, our 49th hereditary Imam, our spiritual leader, and who we trace as a direct descendant of Prophet Muhammad. We adhere to Shia values that are expressed through a commitment to a search for knowledge for the betterment of self and society. Embracing pluralism by building bridges of peace and understanding, and generously sharing of one's time, talent, and material resources to improve the quality of life of the community and those among whom we live. Specifically within my team, the Ismaili Women's Portfolio, we are dedicated to supporting women and their families throughout their lives, including raising awareness about gender equality and gender-specific barriers women and men face. And importantly, the role we can play to tackle those barriers for ourselves and others.
Hi, everyone. I'm really excited to welcome all of you to our event in honor of International Women's Day. Today, we're going to choose to challenge your thoughts, your hopes, and your dreams. We'll also challenge your doubts so we can take you to new heights. The space we've co-created tonight is a space for people from all genders, backgrounds, groups, and countries, and faiths to openly share their experiences in the true spirit of diversity and inclusion. We have chosen 7 speakers, two of which were chosen randomly from an open casting call that all of you applied for. So 2 of those people are like you and me. But tonight, we have a very exciting way for you to watch and hear their stories. Each speaker tonight, regardless of who they are and what their position is, will have 7 minutes to tell their stories. To go along with their stories, the speakers have all prepared 20 pictures that will auto-advance every 21 seconds, giving them a total of 7 minutes to share their story on the topic of tonight's theme, From Challenge Comes Change. Now, it's important to note that what you hear tonight are the speaker's own personal adventures and experiences. So we're in for a real treat. What we hope is that these powerful stories will inspire you to choose to challenge your present beliefs so you can create powerful stories of your own. Now, to open this amazing event that we are all co-creating, I'd like to share a short video in honor of women, girls, and people all over the world.
Hi, Erin.
Hi.
Okay, so I'm gonna just give you some actions to do. Just do the first thing that comes to mind. Show me what it looks like to run like a girl.
My hair. Oh my God.
Show me what it looks like to fight like a girl. Now throw like a girl.
Aww. My name is Dakota and I'm 10 years old.
Show me what it looks like to run like a girl. Throw like a girl. Fight like a girl. What does it mean to you when I say run like a girl?
It means run fast as you can.
So do you think you just insulted your sister?
No. I mean, yeah, insulted girls, but not my sister.
Is like a girl a good thing?
Actually, don't know if it's a bad thing or a good thing. It sounds like a bad thing. It sounds like you're trying to humiliate someone.
So when they're in that vulnerable time between 10 and 12, how do you think it affects them when somebody uses like a girl as an insult?
I think it definitely drops their self-confidence and really puts them down, because during that time they're already trying to figure themselves out. And when somebody says you hit like a girl, it's like, well, what does that mean? Because they think they're a strong person. It's kind of like telling them that they're weak and they're not as good as them.
And what advice do you have to young girls who are told they run like a girl, kick like a girl, hit like a girl, swing like a girl?
Keep doing it, because it's working. If somebody else says that running like a girl or kicking like a girl or shooting like a girl is something that you shouldn't be doing, that's their problem. Because if you're still scoring and you're still getting to the ball on time and you're still being first, you're doing it right. Doesn't matter what they say. I mean, yes, I kick like a girl and I swim like a girl and I walk like a girl and I wake up in the morning like a girl because I am a girl. And that's not something that I should be ashamed of. So I'm gonna do it anyway. That's what they should do.
If I asked you to run like a girl now, would you do it differently?
I would run like myself.
Would you like a chance to redo it?
Yeah.
Why can't run like a girl also mean win the race?
Wow, that video, no matter how many times I watch it, I always get emotional. And it really challenges all of us to change the way we think. The most powerful woman I know is my mum, and she's somewhere out there tonight. So thank you, Mum. Before I introduce our next speaker, I want to tell everyone just a small housekeeping thing for Zoom. On your top right is a view. And if you want to see the best view, if you click view in the top right and press speaker as opposed to gallery, you will get the full effect of the slides and the speaker tonight as opposed to just the gallery. So top right, view, click speaker, and there you have it. With no further delay, I'm now going to introduce you to our first speaker, Kelly Kaur. Kelly is an educator, an award-winning speaker, a poet, and an internationally published author who is about to put out her newest book, Letters to Singapore. If she met her younger self, she would stop her and say, live fully, and live in the moment. Without further delay, let's get ready to hear our first story of the night. Kelly Kaur, dowry or degree. Kelly Kaur.
How many people does it take to change a dowry light bulb? I found out it only took one. There were so many expectations on me to get married, but I wanted more. So I flipped my dowry into a degree. When a girl is born in some cultures, there is so much pressure put on her. The only worry is, who will she marry? How much will her dowry be? What she wants for her own future will never come into question. Really, 60, 100 years ago, my grandmother, a powerful and incredible woman, had an arranged marriage at 13. She was shipped from India to Singapore. It was the only option open to a woman then. 60 years ago, my mother, a beautiful and kind woman, had an arranged marriage at 16. She was shipped from India to Singapore. It was the only option open to a woman. 40 years ago, my sister, an intelligent and vivacious woman, had an arranged marriage at 21. She was shipped from Singapore to Indonesia. Then I panicked. I knew I was next. You see, I had a secret love affair with the Singapore National Library. I went to the library every week. I loved reading the books, the ideas, the adventures. I loved the world of freedom and possibilities in books. I knew I had to break the cycle. I had to say no to arranged marriages. It was the most difficult fight of my life. Only because of my father's love for me and his courage to let me live my dreams, I was able to go to the University of Calgary. It's never easy to live your dreams, but I arrived in the city that would allow me to do that. Alone, lonely, frightened in a new country, I never gave up. Dreams are worth fighting for. When you follow your dreams, magic happens. I flipped my dowry not only into 1, but 2 degrees. I achieved my dream to become a highly educated woman, a woman with a future. This young girl, any young girl, every young girl has big dreams. We don't dream about dowries. We dream of possibilities. We dream of taking the challenges that are put in front of us and overcoming them with powerful change. I dreamt of teaching at a university so that I could help other students and women like me. I wanted to show them that a woman could teach and inspire. I wanted to make meaningful change. I dreamt of having a voice that would be heard. As a woman, an immigrant, and a person of color, I wanted to share my unique stories. In 2017, I won a big international speech contest in Alberta. Then, I dreamt of being one out of 100 speakers from around the world, sharing my experiences as a woman of color. In 2017, I found myself as a contestant at the World Toastmasters International Speech Contest. My dream came true. I dreamt about being a writer. In 2019, I was accepted into a writing program. My mentor, Aretha Van Herk, she took me to the next level. I wrote about Indian women and I gave their voice stories. My dream became a reality. My novel, Letters to Singapore, was accepted by a publisher and will come out next year. My book might even be in the Singapore National Library. Then life changed for me. A miracle happened. My daughter came into the world. My mother had her dreams taken away by marriage and a dowry. That would never happen for my daughter. All my daughter had in front of her was the road of hope and possibilities. As a woman, my daughter has a different vision of life. She says, I can do what I want. I can say what I want. I can go where I want. And I said, yes, yes, you can. Live your dreams. Who would have known that the difficult choices that I have made for my life would lead into a brave new world for my daughter? My daughter got her teaching degree last year and is following into my footsteps. We are women changing the world. Here are my 3 nieces, all happily married by their own choices. A businesswoman in Indonesia, a lung specialist in United Kingdom, a risk analyst in Australia. It only took 1 dowry light bulb. Listen, marriages are beautiful things. Be happy, fall in love, celebrate family and life, but let women choose. Women must live their own lives. Together, we can flip dowries into degrees and watch women live outstanding lives.
Wow, thank you. Kelly, the road of hope and possibilities you took us on. Thank you. And just listening to your story, I'm sure so many people are inspired to go beyond what's expected. Our next speaker, let me introduce Elijah Lawal. We're just gonna get Elijah's video ready, but while they do that, I'm gonna tell you a little bit about Elijah. Hi, Elijah.
Hello.
Our next speaker is Elijah. Now, Elijah is a communications and public affairs manager at Google. He is passionate about diversity and inclusion. He's a published author of a book called Clapback, and that is a definitive guide to calling out racial stereotypes. On top of all of that, Elijah is on the board of Creative Access. That's an organization that's dedicated to helping young people from racialized, primarily non-white backgrounds secure paid opportunities in creative firms. Now, when I asked Elijah what's something he dreams of doing, on top of all of the amazing things he's already doing, he told me he would love to write TV shows. And I have no doubt one day we'll be watching a show written by Elijah. But with all that said, I know we can't wait to hear his story. Elijah Lawal, break free. Elijah Lawal.
Thank you. I'm Nigerian and I love being Nigerian. It's fantastic. I live Nigeria, I breathe Nigeria. Everything about me screams Nigeria. I mean, we have jollof rice, for God's sake. That's one of the greatest things anyone has ever eaten. But alongside being Nigerian comes expectation, the weight of expectation. We have a saying in Nigeria, Naija no dey carry last, which means Nigerians always win. Nigerians always go for what they want. They're always successful. They never lose. In addition to that weight of expectation, I come from a very religious family. In fact, I come from 2 religious families. Both in my family, we have both Christians and we have Muslims. And it's a beautiful mix. We all honor and celebrate Ramadan together. We all honor and celebrate Christmas together. So all baked in that expectations from a religious Nigerian family, there was only one path in life that was set for me, to be a lawyer. In fact, if you ever meet a Nigerian, particularly a Yoruba person, the chances are they either studied law, have lawyers in their family, or just have law as part of their mix. And as Kelly said, marriage is also a huge component in my family. I'm in my mid-30s, And my parents are constantly badgering me. When are you going to get married? When are you going to get married? It's like in their head, I'm more attractive than I actually am. Also coupled with that is, when are you going to have a family? You need to have a family. You need to have kids. And the weight of this expectation just continues to bear on me. And it sometimes makes me question my position in life, just as a single man without a family and without kids. And not only should you have kids, you should have a large family. You should have a large extended family, more than 2 kids, which frankly, I think is slightly hypocritical of my parents because they only have 2 kids. My mom has 14 brothers and sisters, including half brothers and sisters, and my dad has 10, but they only have 2 kids. So all of this has just been weighing on my mind ever since I was a young lad. And sort of before I went off to university, I had these huge bouts of anxiety because the weight of the expectation of my family, of my religion, of my culture was just on me. But that changed when I went to university. I went to university in Kent, in Canterbury. And for the first time, I had an opportunity to break free of the confines that I had been put in. I met people that I had never met before from lots of different cultures. I grew up with predominantly Black and Southeast Asian cultures. But when I went to university, my mind was almost freed to the different cultures and the different people across the world that I met. I got to see the joy in the face of Chinese friends who were experiencing snow for the first time. I got to understand how different cultures can help bring us into a different way of thinking. And then I also decided to follow my passion in terms of branding and advertising. I was thinking outside of the realms of law and thinking, what is it I actually like? I love understanding where the brands come from. And so I went into PR, public relations, which has elements of marketing and advertising. And I primarily did it because I thought I would be drinking a lot and going to tons of parties. Every time I saw a PR professional on TV, they were always drinking and having fun. And given I had such a strict upbringing, I thought, I want this. The reality is what you're seeing on screen right now. It's a lot of strategy, a lot of writing emails, a lot of writing plans, communication documents, sitting in boardrooms, trying to convince people to do things that may not be great for them. So all in all, kind of like a lawyer. But I had the opportunity to work at Google. And Google is an amazing place in terms of the diversity of opportunities. And you can join as maybe a sales representative and end up working in government relations. You can join as a lawyer, as I did, and end up working in PR. And my opportunity to work with Google took me to Ireland, and I lived there for 2.5 years. And I lived in Dublin. It's one of the most beautiful cities in terms of it just being very small compared to London. But again, the diversity of people and the diversity of experiences was great for me. I also got a lot of downtime, which allowed me to write my book, The Clapback. And I was able, judging by how other people viewed my culture, to use that as a lens to write a book debunking stereotypes about the Black community. And I'm so proud to have created this amazing piece of work. In addition to writing this book, I get to do amazing things like what I'm doing right now, which is talk to different people. As you can kind of tell, a theme of my talk is breaking free, but then also understanding a little bit more about other people. And I love doing that. I love having this opportunity to talk to others. The next step in my journey is going to be moving to California, which I'll be doing in a couple of months. And the US is in a very perilous moment right now, probably one of the worst in its 240 plus history. But the opportunity to go over there and bring the lessons that I've learned here is not to be undervalued. I want to end this talk by just saying, even though my parents created a very strict line for me to follow, I love them dearly. And I know that they did it out of love. And these are not my parents. They're just two very attractive African-American parents. But I just thought I will have that picture as one of mine. And so I just want to end this by saying, do what you love. If I have any piece of advice, it's do what you love. Break free from tradition. Break free from preconceptions. Follow your heart. Do what you love, and you never know what you can achieve. Thank you.
Wow, thank you, Elijah. And that speech was powerful and story was powerful. And in the listening, I understood if we can rise above expectation that is set for us, but sometimes not by other people, by ourselves, and we can rise to new possibility, different things are possible. All kinds of dreams can happen. And how do you do that? Do what you love. So thank you, Elijah. So everyone, for our next speaker, we have something very special planned. All of our speakers tonight were required to speak in English, but our next storyteller joined the European community of Ismailis from Syria. She had a challenge to learn a new language, as you will see. Let's meet Alyssa. Hi, Alyssa, how are you?
I'm fine, thanks.
Great, thank you for joining us tonight. So I want to ask you a question for the audience. What is your proudest moment?
So, actually, I have many proud moments in my life, but the proudest moment until now is today, because I stand here and share my story in the wonderful event. So I am so excited and honored to be a part of this event.
That warms my heart, and I'm sure you just put goosebumps on everybody's body and in their souls. Thank you for honoring us tonight in this event as a storyteller, and we won't keep people waiting. To keep things fair, ladies and gentlemen, between the storytellers, we gave everyone 7 minutes, so we gave Alyssa 7 minutes to share her story too. But the challenge tonight was not for Alyssa. The challenge is for each of you. You see, Alyssa's story tonight will be in Arabic. But don't worry though. Alyssa recorded her story a few days ago, so we mere mortals could add subtitles for you to follow along. Alyssa Mirza, bloom where you are planted. Alyssa Mirza.
اسمي أليسا ميرزا، قادمة من مدينة تقع في منتصف سوريا اسمها مدينة السلمية، حيث عشت هناك حوالي 30 عاماً مع أسرتي. وانتقلت للعيش في مدينة تقع في شمال الدنمارك اسمها فيدريكسون. كانت مدينتي سلمية تمتاز بالخضرة وكثرة الينابيع فيها، ولكن مع التوسع الصحراوي والتغير المناخي أدى ذلك إلى جفاف تلك الينابيع، وأصبحت مدينتي تشبه الصحراء. ولكن رغم كل ذلك تمتاز مدينتي بطيبة أهلها، حيث تقف الناس هناك جنباً إلى جنب في الأفراح والأحزان، ويقومون بمد يد العون إلى كل محتاج يطلب المساعدة. وهذا ما أشتاق إليه في مدينتي. وتشتهر مدينتي مدينة الفكر والأدب والفن، حيث تشتهر بالعديد من الأدباء والشعراء والفنانين، وتقام هناك على مدار العام الندوات الشعرية والمهرجانات الخطابية، والتي يحضرها كافة أطياف المجتمع هناك، ويشجعون على القيام بالمعارض الفنية والمعارض وأشغال يدوية، والتي يعود ريعها للجمعيات الخيرية التي تساعد هناك كل محتاج وكل من يطلب يد العون لها. عائلتي. أتيت أنا من عائلة ذات طابع اجتماعي خاص، حيث كنا نعيش في بيت جدي وجدتي لعدة أعوام. كانت طفولتي هناك، حيث كنا نعيش في منزل كبير، وقد تعلمت احترام الكبير والعطف على الصغير. وكنا نعيش في منزل كبير آنذاك، ولكن بسبب التوسع العمراني قررت العائلة هدم المنزل لكونه قديم، والانتقال إلى كل عائلة إلى منزل أصغر، وكان لذلك أثر سلبي في حياتي. ولكن علاقتي بأبي وأمي وأخوتي كانت علاقة جيدة جدا، حيث كنا نجتمع في كل المناسبات. وأيضا أتذكر أنه كان لا يمر يوما إلا وأشاهد فيه أبي وأمي، حتى بعد زواجي وانتقالي للحياة الزوجية. ولكن عندما قدمت إلى الدنمارك وتركت كل شيء ورائي، عائلتي لم تستطع القدوم معي، وكان لذلك أثر سلبي في حياتي. ورغم كل ذلك تجاوزت تلك الأمور وأردت بناء مستقبل هنا في الدنمارك. بسبب الحرب التي أتت على كل شيء في سوريا ومنها مدينتي، حيث كنا ننام على أصوات المدافع ونستيقظ على أصوات الصواريخ، وكان ذلك جل خطر علي وعلى عائلتي. ولكن هنا بدأت بحياتي في الدنمارك بتعلم اللغة الدنماركية، والتي هي تعد الأساس للاندماج في هذا المجتمع الجديد. وكانت هناك لي علاقات عديدة مع الجمعيات والتي تقيم العديد من الحفلات للتعرف على ثقافة اللاجئين وتعرف اللاجئين على ثقافة الدنمارك. وهذا ما كان يشعرني أيضا ببعض السعادة والارتياح لتعرفي على أصدقاء جدد. وبذلت جهدا كبيرا في تعلم اللغة، وتخرجت من مستوى عال في مدرسة اللغة، حيث حصلت على علامة جيدة، والتحقت بعدة كورسات تخص اللاجئين والأجانب هنا في المدينة للحصول أو لإنشاء مستقبل رائع. وكان للعمل الطوعي في حياتي نقطة هامة، حيث عندما كنت أقدم يد العون لأي شخص أشعر بالسعادة المطلقة، ويعود ذلك علي وعلى عائلتي بالرضا. وكنت أساعد الفقير والمحتاج وأحب هذا العمل، وهذا ما تعلمته من مدينتي، والتي تشتهر بالعديد من الجمعيات الخيرية التي تضم جميع الأعمار، فهي تربي الأجيال على مساعدة الآخرين ومد يد العون لهم. حيث عندما قدمت إلى الدنمارك وبعد حوالي 3 أشهر بدأت أنا وبناتي بالعمل ضمن جمعية تخص اللاجئين الدنماركيين وجمع الأموال لهم، وهذا ما علمته لبناتي من أجل أيضا مساعدة الآخرين. ومن جانب آخر أقوم أنا وبناتي وأنا وأسرتي بالعمل بشكل شخصي واجتهاد شخصي على القيام بجولات حملة نظافة في مدينة فيدريكسون، وهذا ما تعلمته أيضا من مدينتي، والتي يقومون بها العديد في كل أطياف المجتمع. كل ذلك تعلمته من منطلق عقيدة الإسماعيلية، والتي أفتخر بها، حيث يعلمنا أو يوجهنا إمام الزمان أبداً ودائماً وأبداً لمساعدة الآخرين. لكن الصعوبة الوحيدة التي تواجهنا هنا في الدنمارك هي الحصول على الإقامة الدائمة. والجنسية الدنماركية، وهذا ما يتطلبه الشعور بالاستقرار هنا. ولكن نعمل أنا وزوجي من دراسة كل ما تتطلبه هذه شروط الإقامة الدائمة، نعمل أنا وزوجي لتحقيقها من أجل إنشاء مستقبل لبناتي هنا ولكي يشعرون بالاستقرار في هذا البلد الذي أتينا إليه.
Thank you, Alyssa. It amazes me that someone can be torn from their country and from their home and come to a completely foreign country, learn a new language, create a new life, and not only do it for herself, teach her family that it's all about service. That is beyond words. Alyssa, we are so grateful to have you as part of the European community. Thank you. Our next speaker is an amazing man. He's a motivational speaker, a published author, columnist, athlete, and ambassador to several non-profit organizations. He's the winner of North America's largest inspirational speaking competition, and he's known on social media as the unbalanced paddleboarder. When I asked Mike what is something he dreams of doing and he just can't wait till it happens, these are the words he gave to me. Sonny, I would love to own one day a restaurant. It would be a place to come and meet loved ones and friends, a place to talk about days and celebrate your milestones and moments. It would be a decorated and vibrant place with soft cushions everywhere under a canopy, and the aromas of Indian cuisine would waft through the air as laughter was heard from the outside. Now, who wouldn't want to go to that restaurant? Let's get ready to be transported into his story. Mike Shorman, facing forward, Mike Shorman.
Perhaps our eyes need to be washed by our tears once in a while so that we can see life with a clearer view again. That is a quote by writer Alan Tran and was sent to me by a friend while I sat in solitude with my grief from a planned life lost. The loss of my health, my independence, and an identity I was so proud of. We are taught what beauty looks like at a very early age. We see it flash across our TV screens and in the films at the cinema. We see it on the magazine covers and the pages within, plastered on bus stops when we are commuting to work, teaching us what we should think and how we should be. These images of perfection, what we are told is beautiful and what we should aspire to look like. Dashing, athletic, masculine, images projected onto me telling me what to think. Stereotypes, broad shoulders, chiseled jawline, which if anyone's wondering, I do have. Muscular physiques, which I definitely do not have. With women, long silky hair, unblemished skin, hourglass silhouettes. I would spend hours looking at these beautiful humans as teenagers, taking what was being fed to me and digesting it all. People knew me as a surfer, a paddleboarder, the one who had all the fun, the guy who searches for the next big wave of adventure, crashing through to go in search of the next. I built this world around me, teaching others and watching their skill sets grow on the water until it all came crashing down all around me. The fun, athletic, vibrant guy, the one who wanted to go on adventures, suddenly couldn't walk anymore. When my feet touched the ground that morning, I knew in that moment my life was going to be different. I staggered towards the door and I fumbled to get it open. When I made my way down the stairs, what seemed like an eternity, my mother brought me to the mirror where I saw that my face had collapsed. A sudden neurological condition attacking me so fiercely, affecting my speech, vision, hearing, and my sense of balance. A reactivation of my chickenpox virus attacking my facial nerve. And just like that, the world I had created for myself and built shattered into a million pieces. I went from man to monster, with my face now sunken in, my one eye now bulging out, my smile stolen from me. The mirror used to be my friend, and now it was a painful reminder of an identity lost, heartbreak, and pain. And while I was surrounded with empathetic, compassionate people, ones who wanted to help me, I shut down, isolating myself. Consumed by grief, I thought to myself, who will ever love this? Who will ever love a monster? I would awake to the feel of tear-soaked pillows. I prayed, I begged, I bargained. What if I am kinder? What if I'm more generous? What if more, just more? The days turned into weeks, and as time progressed, so did my rage, my anger, and my contempt. I researched and found a smile surgeon, one of the top plastic surgeons in the country, who would transfer nerves from my leg to the right side of my face. I felt relief and hope, but every appointment I would be told it can take up to 2 years for them to decide to go in and do the surgery I desperately wanted to make me feel complete and normal. I would leave every appointment devastated, breaking down on the sidewalks to my parents on the phone. They just don't get it. That spring, after months of physiotherapy, I got back on a paddleboard again, doing what the doctor said wasn't a reality. The sun dried up all the tears, and I knew when it hit my face that day, I was home. 3 months later, I took the stage at a speaking competition, sharing a story of returning to the water and what that did to me. A story how each win we have sets us up for our next. That evening, I won North America's largest inspirational speaking competition. And then the light bulb moment went off, the aha moment that so many wait for. What if this all happened for a reason? What if there was a purpose for all of this pain? What if all the tears were supposed to fall so that it could clear how I looked at the world, seeing it and appreciating it in a new way, through a new lens? Suddenly I looked at things like a child who hadn't been influenced by outside sources, the one who chases the birds without thinking about it, the one who gives hugs to everyone, the one who is full of life and full of love. I now celebrate my crooked smile I wear proudly. I celebrate the girl who thinks she's not pretty enough, and I celebrate the boy who wishes he was a little bit tougher. I celebrate people of all different sizes and belief systems and values. And I remember what it was like going into that. Today, on this day, I want you to celebrate others and remind yourselves that you are beautiful just as you are.
Thank you. Wow. That was beautiful, Mike. And I think you reminded us all, each one of you out in the audience today, what if this was all meant to be? What if you were here right now to hear one of these incredible stories, just like Mike's, and take something away that will completely shift your life, just like Mike's life was shifted because he wouldn't be allowed, or he didn't allow life to push him. He pushed back. That's your power. Our challenge tonight was to create a really exciting event, and I hope we're doing that for you. And we wanted to make it really different. So instead of just 7 speakers, we went out and scoured the world, literally, for a performer. The next story is not with words. It's with sounds, with music. Our next performer, Neha, has prepared something extraordinary for us all. It is not words, but music that you will hear. It is your moment now to take a break if you wish. Look after your personal needs, get some water, or just sit back. Take a break and relax. Neha has a master's in philosophy, which gave her a deep understanding of human life. And all that she creates is focused around that. She's a well-known international actress with productions on Amazon, in Bollywood, and beyond. To add to that, she is an accomplished sitar player who collaborated with none other than Ricky Martin. And in December 2020, Neha Mahajan with Ricky Martin won a Grammy for that performance. Now, tonight, Neha wanted to be with us live playing, but she was called for a last-minute shooting in Jaipur. So she did something very, very special. And she's made a movie and sent it from India for us. So don't worry, she's created something special for all of you. Without further delay, Neha Mahajan for our sitar performance. Neha Mahajan.
Hello everyone. I truly wish I was present for the live session today, but since I'm busy shooting, I am recording this video for this incredible platform. It really made me think when I heard the title From Challenge to Change. And I thought of how every day there are so many moments when every decision, every choice can come up as a challenge because of the kind of world we live in, and how our decision making is tested, especially as a woman, in such moments. But today we are celebrating the strength and the power and the possibilities of the choices that we can make as human beings, genderless, with a beautiful clarity of the direction in which we want to go. So as a token for this beautiful strength, I'm presenting to you today one of my favorite rags, Rag Yaman. Traditionally, if I'm presenting a rag, I would start with an alap, which is a slow rendition of the notes that the rag has, and move on to, there are multiple steps, but today I'm just going to present a 7-minute piece. 2 minutes of unfolding, a quick unfolding of what Rag Yaman means to me, and followed by composition with a tabla app today, since we are still in the pandemic. I won't describe what Rag Yaman is. I'll leave it to everyone to interpret. I'll just say one thing, that really this rag always inspires me and makes me think of the number of possibilities there are, the number of realities we as human beings confront, and the sheer beauty of it. I believe.
Wow, ladies and gentlemen, that is a Grammy Award winning musician. Made it look as easy as buttering toast, but playing the sitar is no easy feat. Now, our next speaker was graced with that beautiful interlude, and rightly so. Shabnam is a YouTuber. She's a social media personality and the creator of the wildly popular Spice Dictionary on Facebook. If you want a delicious meal, Indian or cuisine from around the world, the Spice Dictionary is where you will find it. Shabnam loves to travel. Her dream, in fact, is to travel around Iran and actually eat her way around the country. I hope she takes some gym shoes. She loves getting older for the most part. She's comfortable in her skin, more confident now, and she believes everyone should own their age. I'm not sure if I'm ready to do that. 35 is looking good on me, but Shabnam is always up for an adventure. Her mantra is the poem by Dylan Thomas. Do not go gentle into that good night. Rage, rage against the dying light. Let's creak open the door into Shabnam's adventure. Shabnam Jessa, choosing joy. Shabnam Jessa.
Picture this. I was driving on the highway. The kids were in the back seat, and I'm clutching the steering wheel. My head was feeling heavy and my body was going limp. And I kept praying to God, please just don't let me crash this car. Just let us reach home. We did make it home safely, but I really thought we were going to die that day. I had known for years that there was something wrong with me, but doctors kept telling me I was fine. Blood work was good, except my intuition kept telling me to search. Some people call intuition whispers of God. The late Wayne Dyer said, if prayer is you talking to God, then intuition is God talking to you. Everyone has it. It's not just women's intuition. If we quiet our minds and listen, we can hear it. God, intuition, the universe, call it whatever you want. A calm voice was telling me to push back. The doctors told me to just do more yoga and eat beets. But I was having trouble getting out of bed and remembering things. One year, I completely forgot my daughter's birthday, and the tooth fairy would forget to come to my house all the time. She would leave apologetic notes promising to come back the next evening with some money. The doctors, they sent me to see a psychiatrist who told me I had manic depressive disorder. Now, I don't recommend anyone doing this, but I shook my finger at him and I said, I have a psychology degree. I don't believe you're right. I can't get out of bed and that makes me depressed, not I am depressed and therefore I can't get out of bed. To me, it was a huge distinction. Nevertheless, I persisted. It took 10 years, but I was finally diagnosed with lupus, an autoimmune disease. You have never seen someone so happy to be diagnosed with a disease than me, because I had been vindicated. I had been saying it all along. It wasn't just in my head. Then fear and heartbreak set in. And I had to figure out how to transform my pain into power. After I was diagnosed, I emailed every family member and told them that I had a disease and my intuition was right. The elders in my family were quite uncomfortable by this. They didn't understand why I needed to share it. But I didn't want the burden of keeping a secret. I wanted to let the secret out and let my body be free of it. And I thought, if this happened to me, there must be other people out there like me. And if I can help even one person by sharing it, then it was worth it. And then I made a video about it on Facebook. Some people might think, oh, wow, that's really attention-seeking behavior. But I did it because everything on social media makes people's lives look so perfect. Here's my amazing holiday. Here are my amazing kids. But life isn't perfect. Life is messy. Bad things happen to good people all the time. Sharing our challenges humanizes us. Sharing the ugly parts of our lives is just as important as sharing the pretty, happy, successful parts. I also wanted to change the way people looked at and talked about illness in our society. In many communities, we don't talk about these kinds of things. We feel ashamed. There's a cultural stigma in racial minorities to talk about, report, and seek treatment for a variety of illnesses. We only talk about these things behind closed doors. But here's the thing, people are generally inherently good. If we actually shared with people when we were sick and needed help, most people would help us. They would pray for us. They would send us good vibes. By sharing my story, I wanted to give people the courage to be brave, to be open, to share their own stories and seek help, whether it struggles with a parent with Alzheimer's, or a teenager suffering from depression, or someone going through a terrible divorce. To this day, I live my life listening to my intuition. I want people to know that if you've ever had a feeling that there's something wrong with your child that you can't quite put your finger on, or a funny feeling about that weird little man that also always wants to talk to your kids all the time, listen to it, investigate it, trust yourself, trust your body. Keep looking for answers. You might be wrong, but at least you looked into it. Don't give up on that inner knowing, that inner voice that speaks to you. When we deal with an illness or a death or whatever it may be, we can either let courage or fear take hold. Nelson Mandela said, "Courage is not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it." We can choose to fight or shrink away in silence and shame. I chose to fight. Being consumed with feeling bad becomes very easy. Joy can be elusive. But here's the thing again, there's only two choices. Find joy or wallow in your misery. My disease was a call to action. I had to look at my life and decide how I was going to live it. Not every disease is curable. Not every terrible situation is fixable. But we need to find the strength to find joy and persevere. Johns Hopkins University found that a positive attitude improves outcomes and life satisfaction across a spectrum of conditions. Finding joy for me meant going within, meditating, walking on the beach. It meant enjoying moments with my kids instead of multitasking. It also meant trying not to hold on to grudges and forgiving people. That's a Herculean task if there ever was one. If we want some semblance of peace and joy, we need to focus on peace and joy instead of angst and turmoil. It's taken a lot of work, but I can happily say that my disease has been in remission for about 4 years now. Let me leave you with this quote by Joseph Campbell, the late American author and professor at Sarah Lawrence University. "We cannot cure the world of sorrows, but we can choose to live in joy."
Wow. Thank you, Shabnam. What a powerful, powerful story. And I hope it's speaking to everyone here to show us what's possible when we rise above. Don't let people tell you, follow what your intuition tells you. Moving on to our next amazing storyteller, Meredith Preston McGee. Now, this woman has devoted 20 years to addressing conflict and instability in Africa, Asia, and in some of the most troubled situations. From working with the Naga in the Northeast India and indigenous communities on the Thai-Myanmar border, to supporting UN efforts in Kosovo, Northern Iraq, South Sudan, Sudan, Somalia, Nigeria, and Kenya. Her work has straddled frontline negotiation, policy, and diplomacy. She now serves as the Secretary General for the Global Center of Pluralism in Ottawa. Her favorite thing to do is cook, and she loves to experiment with foods and her family and travel around the world in flavor. Without any more delay from me, and without a moment more, I'm sure you are all excited to disappear into the next story. Meredith Preston McGee, Pluralism on the Journey. Meredith Preston McGee.
Friends, I'm delighted to be joining you from Ottawa for this wonderful program celebrating International Women's Day, a day close to my heart. Today's theme, From Challenge Comes Change, speaks to a journey that we are all on, personally, professionally, and together as a global community. I reflect often about the ways pluralism can inform how we pursue our journeys towards more inclusive societies. So I wanted to outline several contexts where pluralism has offered me a path forward through challenge for change. I spent more than 2 decades as a peacemaker in a range of contexts across Africa and Asia. Too often, I found myself in environments predominantly occupied by men. Women's inclusion was too rare and a constant struggle. I saw over and over again that peace agreements developed under exclusionary conditions are not sustainable. They do not reflect the different experiences of the wider society, nor are they rooted in those who would work to sustain peace. This led me to focus on reimagining peacemaking, to see how we can build processes, peace agreements that were based on the principle of valuing diversity. How can we transform the trauma, mistrust, and enmities of a conflict into commitment to value diversity and work towards equity? We know that without these, peace cannot be sustained. And we know that for peace to take root, pluralism must be at the center of peacemaking. This experience seeking to change exclusive peacemaking spaces to be more reflective and responsive to cultural, religious, gender diversity led me to seek a new challenge at the global level. As the Secretary General for the Global Center for Pluralism, I have an amazing opportunity to look at the issues we faced as peacemakers, but now in all facets of society and at a global level. We cannot achieve the change that we seek without practical tools that are grounded in the contexts and lived experiences of each place. So we are developing analytical tools, educational resources, supports for policymakers, educators, grassroots activists, helping them embed pluralism in their own spaces. Tools like our Global Pluralism Monitor, which tracks a society's journey towards greater inclusion or exclusion. It's designed to help policymakers face squarely the challenges of leadership and take decisions grounded in a commitment to pluralism. At the center, we believe strongly that you cannot change what you do not see, understand, or measure. Through the monitor, we help to identify gaps and empower local actors to find creative solutions to their diversity challenges. The tool helps to uncover the interconnected and systemic issues that underpin exclusion, to address grievances early, offer solutions, and we hope prevent future conflict. Our Educating for Pluralism program is another example that really inspires me that change is possible. We know schools have the potential to be incubators for the kinds of inclusive, equitable societies we need. The challenge is making it happen. To help schools realize this potential, we're creating practical resources like our reflection tool for schools, supporting school leaders to examine how inclusion and equity figure into their policies, their culture and practices, and make actions to improve. The goal is for schools to become more active to address marginalization and exclusion and develop the next generation of pluralism champions. I've spoken about pluralism providing us some concrete solutions, overcoming challenges in peacemaking, governance, and education. But as a global community, we have a huge challenge ahead as we look to recover from the current crisis, which brings me to the final area where I believe pluralism plays a key role in the global recovery from the pandemic. Recovery. This implies a return to normal. We ask instead, how do we push beyond recovery? towards a longer-term vision where major fault lines and unequal power dynamics are finally addressed and a truly equitable future is built that can benefit all of us. I didn't want this just to be my thoughts on the challenge, so we asked our networks around the world, what does going beyond recovery mean to you? How do we ensure recovery embraces the power of pluralism at a time of such polarization and division? What we hear from our friends around the world makes for an urgent, challenging call to action. It makes it clear that we must be guided by the lived experiences and unique circumstances of each place. And I wanted to share some of their wise words. In Brazil, Tadeu Luz, who founded the sign language app HandTalk, one of our Global Pluralism Award laureates, points to the spread of lies and misinformation throughout the pandemic. Groups of people are being excluded, discriminated against because of these lies. The recovery must fight misinformation and the political gains that go along with it, he said. In Canada, Odile Joannette, who leads another award laureate, Wapakoni Mobile, who offer video production training to remote Indigenous communities, said that for Indigenous peoples and movement, the recovery must honor the lost traditional knowledge of Indigenous people. By honoring the practices from Indigenous elders of valuing everyone's place in society and redistributing power, we can start building back based on the core values that truly represent us. I think this is a particularly hopeful and inspiring framework to learn from and to follow. Ahmed Sarmast, who runs the Afghan National Institute of Music, yet another of our award laureates in Kabul, reminded us of the global inequities at play as the pandemic has clearly shown that poor countries are more vulnerable in a crisis. To ensure an inclusive recovery, vaccines must be equally distributed throughout the world, regardless of a country's financial circumstances, he said. If the vaccine is not widely accessible, he fears poor countries, marginalized communities will continue to suffer, remain isolated, and it will embed inequality rather than returning us to the global community we cherish. And finally, in Kenya, Daniel Otieno from Kenyatta University, who advises our education program, has reminded us, in Kenya, the recovery needs to address the social and economic disparities of the population, which threaten to weaken the unity and the beauty of the multi-ethnic diversity of the country. If maintained properly, it is such a beautiful thing. But if differences are used as a wedge issue by political elites, the whole country is fragmented. In Kenya, the conversation is how we bring cohesion to our community. As you can see, the challenge for recovery will be vast and multifaceted, countering misinformation, making space for perspectives outside the mainstream, sharing finite health resources equitably, fostering social cohesion, just a few of the major issues we face. But if we are guided by pluralism, the path we need to take becomes clearer. By seeding support for pluralism through our societies, we can build the political will and social capital. As our theme reminds us, from challenge comes change. Pluralism offers us the response to the challenge and the change that we seek.
Wow, thank you. What a powerful speech. And for everyone, it reminds me when I'm thinking small, to think bigger. When I'm thinking local, not to think national, to think global. We're that powerful. Thank you, Meredith. These have been amazing speakers tonight. And we have a seventh speaker. And this seventh speaker is as amazing as all the others. Gitanjali was recognized as America's top young scientist and received an EPA Presidential Award. She was honored as Forbes 30 Under 30 in Science in 2019. She's an experienced TED speaker and often presents at global and corporate forums on innovation and the importance of STEM. She was recently on the front cover of Time magazine as Time's top young innovator and kid of the year for her innovations and STEM workshops that she conducts globally. Her inventions are literally changing the way we live and helping people all over the planet. Gitanjali has inspired over 38,000 students. in the last 2 years across 4 continents. Amazing. Her favorite food ever? Ice cream. Yeah. That feels more human. And her proudest moment is when her students say, "You finally helped me realize my potential to solve the world's problems." I can't wait to hear her story, and I'm sure you can't either. Gitanjali Rao, innovating the future. Gitanjali Rao.
In 2001, after a devastating earthquake hit in western India, Mansukh Prajapati, a potter with high school education, saw a shortage of food for the residents of his towns and villages, and his empathy for the people around him drove him to look for a solution to the problem of refrigeration and food preservation without electricity. Mansukh is a change maker, particularly in the sense that his motivation to innovate was driven by his urge to help his fellow humans. My journey started when I was 4 to 5 years old, when I was introduced to STEM, art, music, and just to explore the world around me. My teachers wanted to feed my curiosity and to introduce me to new things. Right from a young age, I would watch the news with my parents and travel with them, and every single piece of news affected me. And one morning, when I was getting ready for a piano competition and my dad was traveling abroad, I heard about the Malaysian Airlines going missing. And day in and day out at the dinner table, we would talk about these issues. We would talk about how the world is facing so much. And this is when I started that I needed to take action. I needed to do something to solve these problems. And that's when I started looking at something called a black box detector. And that's what my friends and I applied for an innovation competition for a way to help detect for black boxes underwater using underwater laser communication, which was a pretty cool idea at the time. And the pattern continued, and one day I heard all over the news about the Flint water crisis, the issues of lead in drinking water. While I didn't have the solution, I followed the news closely for years and spent hours reading interviews of children and adults and the effects of drinking water, and understood the cascading impacts on the education and the economy of the town. And years later, when I was presented with a challenge to essentially solve this problem, all of this research and all of this understanding that I'd spent so much time doing became a necessity. Everything came together. The challenge presented itself in a way of approaching problems. While I played with designs made with cardboard boxes and drew sketches, this time it needed to be something more. What started as a simple project called Tethys, a solution for early detection of lead in water using nanotube sensors, became my motivation for bringing awareness to people across the world. Clean drinking water is a right, and we should not compromise on it. And I saw this change where at least 2 universities started research in the subject as well. Slowly, using science and technology as a catalyst for social change became a habit that followed a repeatable process. And I came up with other solutions like Epione to help diagnose addiction, and Kindly, a global service to help prevent anti-cyberbullying that works seamlessly with the social media platform. Our society has really taken science and research as separate from bringing awareness and advocating for solving them. But I saw a need to combine it. There's no use of a solution without consumers knowing why it is needed. There's no point in raising your voice when you're not a part of the solution. No matter your age, no matter your talent, we cannot complain of the situation at hand if we don't do something to solve it. While I tried different solutions to the best of my ability and the resources that I had, I thought I needed to share my process with students everywhere. There are many problem-based learning resources, but students in schools are not introduced to simple tools and step-by-step processes that they can use themselves. We deserve an education system where we're not just judged by our ability to memorize tests and content. We need to show our knowledge. We need to be able to apply our talents and creativity to make a difference in society, to influence people and provide solutions. And that's the education system that I want to see going forward. And this led me to focusing and organizing my thoughts and documenting the step-by-step process that anybody can use. I've reached out to 40,000 students till date across 4 continents and have conducted 230 workshops. I've heard only heartwarming feedback, and I'm beyond excited to see how many people have really learned that their potential to solve the world's problems, their potential to make a difference in their community. So I really want to say that I'm beyond fortunate and privileged to have access to resources that are not necessarily available across the world. A simple resource such as the internet and access to books can multiply the learning effect and significantly enhance our education. But that global inequality to resources still exists. And I was fortunate to have mentors who believe in me, mentors who are open to listening to me, and mentors who supported my dreams. Imagine a future where every student like me is paired with a mentor who is invested in their passion. Imagine a future of education where we are all ready to solve the problems of tomorrow. So, for all of you who are tuned in today, there's a simple request from me to seek a student mentee and mentor them in the areas that they are passionate about. It doesn't matter if it's one student or a group, but you can change the life of them. And I'm here because of my mentors, and I hope everyone can say the same thing looking forward as well. Looking back at my journey, it has absolutely been a fun ride, and it has opened my eyes to so many different truths and opportunities. I always felt that my recognitions came with responsibility. And society, as much as we don't want to admit it, is quick to create these stereotypes for whom based on who the individual is. It's the 21st century, and we're still talking about girls and women struggling to receive an education. And we're still talking about Asians who cannot innovate. And that's that problem aspect. I hope to represent all the girls here so that we can do it too. We tend to shift blame or find excuses, and a large part of the problem is our own doing. Middle school sees the largest drops, and people decide that this isn't for us. You can make that choice for yourself and be what you want to succeed and help others. The proverbial blood, sweat, and tears are real, and they are needed to make a difference, even if they can never be seen. But we all come out of it, and if we have a goal to use the resources around us and talents to alleviate problems in society, that is success. Success is making difference towards one other person and their actions. So I will end this off with a quick story. A few years ago, a kind lady sent me these Monopoly pieces from the 1950s. She wrote me a letter stating that these pieces reminded her of the times when she was young and she couldn't take a math class beyond Algebra 2 because she was a girl. And she worked as a cleaner in a bio lab to, acquire more knowledge to be a scientist. And her story shows that we've come a long way and we have so much more to do when we look ahead, as Madam Curie states. And if each and every one of us can recognize our talents and use science and technology as a catalyst for social change, we can walk into a better tomorrow. And thank you so much for allowing me to share my story here today.
What can you say except wow? Like the passion just bounces out and punches everyone right in the face and wakes you up. And you know what? Each and every one of these people tonight, they have one thing in common. They're just people who love what they do. You can do that too. I'm going to pass the mic over now to Shalina, who has some things to say. Shalina.
Thank you, Sunny. And thank you very much to all our speakers. On screen, you'll now see some short poll questions. This is completely anonymous and extremely helpful to us. If you'd also like to provide comments, then you can also email us. I'll give you a few minutes, seconds even, to complete that now. You may need to scroll down to answer all the questions. And while you're doing that, a big thank you to all the speakers for their time, their amazing stories, to the fantastic team who put this event together, and to our tech support. I would now like to ask the President of the Ismaili National Council for the UK, Nausha Jivraj, to say a few words.
Wow, good evening, everyone. Thank you very much to all our speakers for such an inspirational evening. It's just amazing to see such talent, all of who are sort of challenging to make change. The common theme that I took away from today was take control of your lives, do what you love, take what life deals you and make the most of what you want out of it. trust your intuition. We're all different, so embrace pluralism. And finally, every single one of the speakers this evening was doing good for others. I want to also thank the Ismaili Women's Activity Portfolio for putting on such an amazing event and attracting such outstanding and talented people this evening. You know, the principles of diversity and inclusion are at the heart of the Ismaili community. Our imams have been promoting the education of women for over 100 years. For example, setting up of girls' schools in rural areas to ensure that girls received the highest quality education. And as early as 1905, the first Aga Khan schools in India, Pakistan, and Tanzania offered education to both boys and girls at a time when girls' education was not broadly considered a priority. But having said that, we also understand that structural and systemic bias goes deep. And we as the Ismaili community are not immune to this. So we must be purposeful in understanding what we need to address this. And so with that in mind, our National Council have set up a One Jamaat collaboration unit with the purpose of ensuring that our community is united as one Jamaat, celebrating its diversity. And a key pillar within this is a focus on gender equality. As a community, our structures of support cover all aspects of life, from education and finance to well-being and family. Our collaboration unit seeks to understand the different needs of our very powerful, diverse community and ensure that these needs are addressed in a holistic way. This is critical to our present Imam's vision. He says, and I quote, "A pluralist cosmopolitan society is a society which not only accepts difference, but actively seeks to understand it and to learn from it. In this perspective, diversity is not a burden to be endured, but an opportunity to be welcomed," unquote. That was His Highness the Aga Khan's speech at Harvard University on the 12th of November, 2015. Although this week is International Women's Week, our efforts to celebrate and recognize diversity have to be part of what we do every single day. And this week has just been a powerful reminder of the progress that has been made, but also the great deal of work that we still have to do. Wishing all of you a very, very happy International Women's Week. And I'd like to hand over now to Sunny.
Thank you, President. So I would like to bring this event to a close by thanking the most important people here. That's each one of you. Without you, this wouldn't have happened. And our storytellers, or should I call them superheroes, perhaps? These people were all here to remind you of what's possible. They're just people. So I'm going to leave you, before I say goodbye and farewell, with one powerful quote by Lao Tzu. When you let go of what you are, you become what you might be. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Please take your stories and write them as you will. When you are met with challenge, overcome it with change. Thank you and good night.